Hello there, welcome to this video covering Kerbal Space Program. My videos previously have been covering a few basic training points on how I play Kerbal Space Program. However, on this particular video I'm going to be covering some of the more interesting things that I do in Kerbal Space Program. Now, I know you've probably made your way to this video thinking, what the heck is an Orbital Assault Course? Well, as you can see, just running by you right now is me putting up apparently a crucifix in space. It is not a crucifix, however. This is the Orbital Assault Course in construction at the moment, and as you can see I've got some very dandy looking little vessels there using reaction control systems to manoeuvre those rings around in space and dock them to the main station. We've just got a couple more to go. There's another. As you can see, I'm actually doing manual controls here on decoupling. I prefer to do this so I don't accidentally hit the spacebar. I'm very prone to doing this for some strange reason. I need to take my hand off the keyboard while not doing anything with it. But we've just got one more to go. Okay. Now, I have tried to speed up this video as much as possible in places, but there were certain things that needed explaining better as we went around, so I thought, why not? It is quite... I mean, I'll be honest with you, I went everywhere before really deciding to do this video and found that, I mean, if you could link me to anybody that's tried something like this before, I would really love to see it, but I've never seen anything quite like this before, so I would love to really claim the handle that this is unique. So where did this start? This started from an idea that I had that astronauts needed further training with orbital manoeuvres. And that's where this comes in. This is the Orbital Assault Course. At the moment it is oriented normal, so up and down if you will, but I will reorient that in a sec to point prograde, so it's pointing along its orbit instead, just after I deorbit this vehicle here. And here we have the Orbital Assault Course, or Obstacle Course, depending on what you want to call it. I mean, I suppose I could add something else into it to make it an Assault Course, but for now, this will do. All we need now is the vehicle and pilot who's going to be trained in orbital maneuvers. And here we go. Valentina, the 5-star pilot already, has not received such advanced training as this, so maybe she should get a 6th star after this, maybe? I know it's a very tiny rocket, but the vehicle itself is itself also tiny as well, as you can probably imagine from those rings when you saw them in orbit there. The actual hole that you've got to fit through is not very big in itself. I did actually design this thing a lot bigger previously, however the more rings I kept adding to it, the more janky my frame rate got, because the more parts that you have on a screen, the more laggy the game gets. So yeah, it's really a trade-off of parts versus your computer's performance, I suppose, which mine is not particularly brilliant. So this particular game save I've completely made anew because I just wanted to get rid of all the mods, really. So all the mods that I wasn't using anyway on a regular occasion. So we're just about to come up for our intercept now. This is going by at increased speed, so it will look like it's about to overshoot me, but it actually wasn't. Okay, so our vehicle is now here, and I just want to take this time to give you a little look at the vehicle. It's a very basic little thing that I just threw together, I won't lie, but I did actually use this very cool little light system on the back, and I even gave it headlamps as well, just for the sake of it, green ones, which I will show in just a second. But there was a reason behind this lighting system, because as you're performing these maneuvers, you need to really understand which way is up, down, left, and right when you're doing them. Now, in a previous video that I did about docking, docking like a car, this was something that I stressed quite importantly, is knowing which way is up, down, left, and right. And you'll see why this is hugely important as I attempt to do the assault course myself. Okay, so we're coming up close now. I'll just dock to it because there is something slightly interesting about this station as well, as it's not just a floating piece of scaffolding in orbit. It is also, I suppose you would call it a station. It does have refueling on it, so there's a big store of monopropellant, which is what this particular craft uses. So yeah, this craft can basically stay here and train many astronauts in the finer aspects of orbital maneuvers. And as you can see, I'm just going to refuel here. And then shortly we will take our first attempt at the Orbital Assault Course. Now, I will be going slow for the first lap because this was my first lap, although this is a separate video. There we go. Now, it was my first attempt. I just wanted to make sure that I was getting everything done in segments so I knew which parts to throw where while video editing. But here we go for our first attempt. Now, there is something important to consider when you're doing this. You need a target. You have to have a target, otherwise this is not going to go very well for you. So set the docking port as the target and then orient yourself ready for where you're going. Now, it's important that you get yourself to 1 meter per second at least, because otherwise you can't hit prograde, and you need to follow prograde for this because now it is like steering. So I'm just tapping left to steer left. And yes, I'm doing this at 1 meter a second. It wasn't very fast. I do attempt a lap at 2 meters a second, and you will see just how much more that makes it so much more difficult, really. It really is a lot of fun, I've got to be honest with you. I had so much fun putting this together and just flying around it, really. So now the plane's changed, so instead of going round to the left, I'm now going up and over. And I thought to myself, it might be best if I get myself the right way over here, and it actually almost backfired on me because I got my controls the wrong way round and almost hit the top, but we got through. Everything's fine. So there is lap 1 done at 1 meter a second, which is not that fast, I do appreciate. That is a very baby style way to go around the course, but as you saw when we started going around the alternate plane there, things got a little more difficult. So we do try at 2 meters per second, and I've lined myself up ready to go. We're going to get ourselves up to 2 meters a second and give this a shot. Now, there is something to consider that I noticed while doing this, and there probably is a science behind it, but the faster that you go, for some reason, when you're going around the corners, the more you accelerate it. When I was doing this at 1 meter a second, I wasn't picking up a great deal of speed by steering, but doing it at 2 meters a second, yeah, I had to be careful on the brakes and, yeah, the acceleration, because otherwise I was just spinning around and, yeah, not having a good time, as you'll find out now. I didn't reorient myself the right way round, but it's okay. All I had to do was just get myself back into position again. I did this by just resetting the station, by taking control of the station, putting it back on its plane again, and then redocking and starting again. There was no quick saves or anything like that. So attempt number 2, shall we have more success this time? Because I've got a better feel for it now, so sure, why not? I know what I'm doing, right? As we'll soon find out, probably not. But like I said, this was so much fun, really was. As you can probably tell as well, this did require mods to make. Nothing too particularly heavy. This particular game does run quite nicely on my computer without all the added mods that I usually go for. Oh dear, look at that. We cocked up again. But it's okay, because I can just reset the station and try again. Shall we get third time lucky? So I was saying about the mods, and yeah, the majority of the mods that I use are things like Near Future. If you use CCAN, which is the mod manager for Kerbal Space Program, just type in Near Future and just get everything. That's basically all I've got installed on this save game, I believe. So here we go. Through the first one, round the first corner. Lining up for the second. Trying to make sure keeping that speed above 2 meters a second but not letting it go too high. And here we go, changing everything. And the solar panel's in the way. That was something that I did find did make this more of an assault course as opposed to an obstacle course, because things kept getting in the way. Those solar panels were intentionally placed because if you break them, then you've cocked up. And we're through the final one. We've done it. At 2 meters a second, I was so happy that I almost crashed into a solar panel because I just spun around and was like, no, stop. Just stop. That's it. Just stop there and we'll do docking this way because I don't want to break things. But yeah, so much fun. It was absolutely brilliant to make this particular thing just... Yeah, this is what I love about Kerbal Space Program. You can just have fun with the game. And with that, Valentina's training is complete, so all we had to do now was send up Jeb in a plane to get her. And this is something I find absolutely comical about the game as well, is as you can see I'm not using a docking port to dock here, I'm just using a claw on the end of a piston. You know, this is very, very weird. What I'm about to do in transferring a Kerbal through a claw. I mean, through a claw I can understand if it's attached to the command pod, but the fact that she's going through that piston as well, I mean, yeah. I just think it's quite funny, you know, but I had to do this quite quickly as well because I also realised that the piston didn't have the same... Well, as you can see, it's contorting around, and yeah, things were not going well, so get released of that before things go bad. So now all it is just getting round. Now, I can't say that I use an absolutely perfect re-entry profile. It works for me for the planes that I use. This particular mod that I use for these planes is the OPT set of aerodynamics mods. They're brilliant. They just add a load of futuristic style parts in. But I say futuristic, I mean, you can imagine these sort of planes being in service today, surely. But yeah, like I say, with my descent profile, it's just as simple as I look for that particular meteor crater on Kerbin, which has that little island in the middle of the big circle thing. You know, it's quite easy to see from orbit. I go to about halfway through that and then just burn retrograde until I hit about 15 kilometers. Ideally, what I'm looking for is for the blue prograde line to hit the sea past the Kerbal Space Center, roughly where this point of land is. There's a large point of land. You couldn't see it too well in the video because yeah, it wasn't. It was a bit dark. I have since increased my brightness, so future videos you'll be able to see things a lot better. But yeah, otherwise that is it. That's all I do, and then I just aim the aircraft prograde and just leave it at that until it hits about 40 kilometers, and then I just hit normal. The stability assist, the top left one there, and then that just allows the nose to just naturally come up. All this while I've got air brakes on, and these air brakes are quite good, to be fair. So yeah, they'll stop anything just about dead in its tracks in orbit. But that's about the descent profile that I use on this particular plane. It's nothing special. It is just a taxi for Valentina for her royal return, returning from orbit after completing orbital manoeuvres training. If you have enjoyed this video, I do appreciate if you would hit the subscribe and like, get it shared around your friends or whatever. It would be great, because I am just starting out on YouTube, and I am planning on putting out a video roughly once every week, something like that. And I actually do a lot more of this sort of stuff in game than I never record, to be honest, which is why I've started recording it, to put it out there and hopefully inspire some people to go and try bigger and better things, but also not just think that this game is just about going to visit other planets. There are other things you can have fun with as well. There we go, lining up with the runway now, ish. I'll be honest with you, I'm not brilliant at landing. This was a one-shot landing, and I was absolutely amazed that on the one recording I decided to do something as daft like this for bringing back a Kerbal in a plane. I actually landed on the runway. I quite often just land on the field, I'm not going to lie. I mean, landing on the runway is really nice and everything, but the field's just as flat, to be fair, and, you know, it's a bigger target. But usually I have all sorts of fuel systems set up around. These planes aren't usually something I recover. Well, hope you enjoyed the video. Everybody's home, safe and sound now. I'm Shalectra, keep the pointy side up. Catch you next time.